All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Goose, Manny, and Mark Arnold. Insured. In this episode, we have special guest Mark Arnold. We cover topics that range from the insurance business, networking, relationship building, marketing, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Steve Jobs and Walt Disney. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Mr. Arnold, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We know you're a busy guy. Take time for us to interview you and jump on our show. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, so for those of us who do not know who you are, explain a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Mark Arnold. I'm the managing partner at Insurance Savings Network. We're in a personal lines and small commercial lines insurance agency.
Nice. All right, so let's hear a little bit of how you got into the insurance business. I mean, is this something that you grew up and you're like, you know what, dude, let's rock and roll with this? Is it something that came on later on in your career? How did it all happen?
All right, yeah. So this is an interesting story and some ups and downs in the story. So
sure.
For a really long time, I first was in the car business, and I realized as much as I like to sell in the car business, and this is before I even met my wife or any of this, I knew seeing the other sales guys not being able to go to their kids' games and coach their kids' teams and things that I wanted to figure out a job, a career where I could make a living and also be there for them and coach them and be there like my father was for me. So sure. I didn't know what business I wanted to do or how I was going to get into it, but I was selling cars and was taking some time off in my early 20s. Unfortunately, my sister had passed away in a car accident, and that was in 2003, and that was obviously a very difficult time, and I noticed that the insurance agent for my father, was very hands-on, very professional. It was a bad situation for everybody, and he made that situation easier for him. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this guy is really helping my father out. And in the same respect, the person that was at fault who was sued, they didn't have the proper coverage. Yeah. So and they had some money. Yeah. And it was very interesting all that dynamic. So even though it was a horrible situation and it's definitely tough, in that situation I realized this is an interesting situation. So he asked me, I was, after I got out of the grieving process, to intern there. That was at an Allstate agency. Okay. I went there. He ended up selling his business, and then I stayed on with the new owner. And I worked there for a while, learning the ins and outs of the game. Yeah.
So very interesting. So that was something that was local. How did the transition happen going from the car deal and then to insurance? Was that once that situation happened, you kind of just stopped, everything came to a halt, and then you kind of just moved on? Or you still worked doing the car thing?
So I was doing the car thing, and that was when I was, I guess, 18 to 22-ish. Okay. And essentially, I stopped prior to my sister passing away I lived at home. I didn't have anything going on. I was essentially, kind of undecided on what I wanted to do. I knew I really don't want to sell the cars anymore. So I took a little break. I had some money saved, and, my parents were still allowing me to live there and everything. So I was just having fun. Yeah. And then that happened with my sister, which unfortunately, I got in real bad depression from it. And that was when I, met my wife there and at a later point, and she kind of built me back up. Yeah, and I give her a shout out because, my parents and stuff, they got, a rough deal, and they were able to stay with me and all I was going through, while they definitely didn't need me to be upset and not leaving the house and whatnot. But I met my wife, and she's she's the rock for me, and she got me. I owe a lot of that to her to build me back up and get me from back into like the career mode again. And,
Yeah.
Because I was like,
It's rough.
sometimes you question a lot of things when that kind of stuff happens.
Of course.
But,
it's a beautiful thing with, the whole thing, having someone there and obviously building you up. It's a tough situation. It's a lot to digest. It's overwhelming. There's a lot going on. And then you're trying to figure stuff out beyond, you like trying to identify yourself now. You know what I mean? You're kind of like lost.
Yeah, I was in sales, and I was always able to build rapport with people, and I knew I always wanted to do all that. And I was kind of, when this all transpired, I was just, I was still young, and I was just, kind of stuck for a while. Yeah. And when I met her, it was we had fun for a little bit as we were younger and stuff. Sure. But after a while, her parents would say, "So what's this guy you're seeing do?"
Yeah.
What do you, you know what I mean? What does he do?
Question.
I mean,
Great
of course.
We see he's got a nice car. We see he's got, you go out and you do these things, but like generally concerned, like, how is this guy getting money? Because he looks like he has a little bit of money.
Yeah.
My parents took care of me, and I saved a little bit of money. When you sell cars and you sell them at a high level, and like I have always done, and you have no bills,
it's a good time.
You could stack up.
It's a really fun time, and you get into all kinds of fun and trouble and stuff like that. So, but she pushed me, and in insurance, you got to take a test, and I haven't gone to school in a while.
Yeah.
And, I have a high school diploma, but that's it. I'm not a studious person.
Yeah.
I'm a grinder.
Yeah.
And she pushed me and helped me with all that, and I finally got that done, and kind of the rest is history.
So how do you go from, all right, so you're learning the ins and outs. You're with this new owner and this agency, and you're learning everything that you possibly can. Mm-hmm. How do you go, or where do you go from there, or what triggers in your mind to say, I can do this, I can run my own show?
Yeah, so I saw that we worked tons of hours even still, so that whole idea to go from car sales to insurance, working the same hours now, just selling insurance inside.
Right.
It's still better on your body.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, you're walking around in car sales where you're sitting at a desk for 10 hours, and so I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
But it was inside at least, and you weren't outside and stuff. But I saw he was a nice guy and mentored me, and he could do just about anything he wanted.
Yeah.
Go golfing, take his family on vacation. He was working hard, but he was also having fun. He was making some money. So I just always knew that this wasn't for me. I had to own something. I had to be an entrepreneur. I've always been that way. Yeah. And he wasn't happy when I left to start my own thing. And
of course.
My wife wasn't happy. She was pregnant with my son, and when I made this decision, and she was like, "You're making a modest income. We can live here. It's Allstate, so it's a big company.
Sure.
You can work your way up, and don't take any chances. Why would you take chances when I'm pregnant?"
Yeah. But what? Okay, so what build your confidence though for that? Was it having the kid? You're like, dude, I get it. This is like the steady check. We're doing good, or just getting by, whatever the situation is. But what made you like turn it up that notch? Like, no.
All right. Well, it wasn't as risky in my mind, and it really wasn't as risky
in my mind.
Period.
It sounded all good.
Yeah.
His risk gauge is completely broken. Everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
believe me, I've been there. And I'm not a gambler by any means, but the same thing where it's like, it's almost like that innocence where it's just like, I can do this. Or, which I love, is my favorite, is just the confidence of the male, an alpha male, where it's just like, you just think you can conquer anything.
See,
you're not into the details of, oh my God, all this moving parts can go wrong.
Right.
See, I do have an ego, and I do like to gamble.
Yeah.
Not now per se because of, having kids and stuff. But I've taken chances when I knew I could always go back to this Allstate agency or another one. The numbers spoke for themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, I could work anywhere, State Farm, Allstate Farmers, wherever I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I didn't really, and if it fell completely out, I could sell cars.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so it wasn't as risky because what I did is I got into business with my uncle, who is, really my mentor, and he is super, super successful. I mean, everything he's ever done from a very young age, like, in his young teens, was successful. Nightclubs in the city. I don't know, but he's got a good living.
Yeah. He's one of those guys we call multifaceted. Yeah. Everything he does turns to gold.
And I said, as soon as he gives me an opportunity, no matter what it is, I'm in. He could have told me something that I knew was going to fail, and because he said it, I would be like, I'm not missing out, because all the other 5 things I never got asked to do became really lucrative. So he could have been like, we're opening a Chuck E. Cheese or something, and I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. I'm in. And it's going to be called something else, so you're going to be competing with Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
Sounds good. Whatever. So he owned a mortgage company, and they had about 100 employees and, 30, 40 loan officers. And we went in there, and he was like, I buy you leads for the mortgage guys. I do all this. You're going to give business to the insurance division. And we're going to build a big brand, and they're going to give business back, and everything's going to work out. So we went in there. That's not much of a risk to me. I went in there, and he said, how much do you need to make? And I lowballed it because I wanted him to do business. I wanted him to give me an opportunity. I said this, and I went home, and she was like, well, that's not what you make now. And I said, well, I just took like 15 grand off what I make now. I just figured that at least that wouldn't be too bad, because he's spotting it, And he's like, as soon as I said it, he was like, no doubt, let's start this up. I'm like, oh man, I undershot the hell out of that.
Gave him the family discount. Family discount.
I said, no. That's every 6 months.
I switched it up on him.
But I've negotiations. I usually that's what gets me going. And that one was one where I totally screwed that up.
Now, did you call him back and was like, all right, dude, I got a little excited.
Like, listen, Unc.
I talked this over with my wife. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I genuinely got excited. Did that happen, or you just rolled with it?
No, I just said, well, he would have been like, he's just as good at sales as I am. He's like, well, then I'm not interested. I can't do that. So I figured, based on we had a business plan. He was good at that kind of stuff, and he is good at that kind of stuff. I was not. So he had the money. He was in it. We were with him, me, and another partner. They both owned a little bit more than me, but I was just happy to own something, and I was, excited to get started, and they were just going to funnel business for me. So in the commissions that I would make from that, it would be gold. So I figured I could make it up.
So what year is this, 2012?
Yeah.
Okay, so from my understanding, a year later, you guys completely rebranded. What happened in that first year that you guys came to the decision to rebrand?
Well, unfortunately, it was kind of forced upon us, because in 2012, I think we started in about February, and by the time I learned we were going independent, so that was the route we were going. So we represent about 15 companies. We have a bunch of different carriers we can help you with. So it's not that Allstate captive brand anymore. So
what are you selling?
Like auto, homeowners, do some life insurance. We partner with some people for that. We don't do health insurance or pet insurance, but we do renters, motorcycles, jet skis. But my niche market, and my where I want to be is auto and home, and some small business.
Okay.
So we wanted to have something for everybody, whether you had a claim or you had an issue or your credit was good or bad, and we decided to go that route instead of just locking into one. And by the time I learned all that coming from Allstate, which was just one rules, one guidelines, one underwriting, it was probably like May-ish we started to really start getting some traction from referrals and stuff from the mortgage company. So, from June to September, it was like, Wolf of Wall Street or something. I couldn't sleep. I was so busy.
Wow.
Everyone was giving us business, and it was like boiler room. It was like we were pumped. I was like, whoa. I was, if I could make this even for 4 years or something, I'd be a lifetime of money. I was going crazy.
Wow.
And we were like, well, we couldn't even believe it was taking off. Then we had to hire somebody, and I hired a friend of mine who I worked with at Allstate who had left Allstate, so he came over. And then we were still busy, and we were talking about bringing a third person on. So then, I think it was late September, early October, he called me that our partner was in the hospital, and he was the financial guy of the whole thing. So my uncle was business development and sales and more kind of how I am now to my business. He was the one that was hands-on, the face of the business.
Yeah.
And then there was someone that was, payroll, accounting, the money guy essentially that handles the stuff that people like me are not the greatest at. So we left him with that responsibility. So I think what happened is, I don't know if he had a nervous breakdown or if he was doing something. They were overextended on the business somehow, but my uncle didn't know this. They were buying land, they were doing different things, and they probably should have stayed in their lane a little bit because the mortgage industry is very volatile. So my uncle was blindsided, and he had to figure out quickly what to do, and without blowing all the money he's made over the years. So he had to merge or sell or liquidate that business because of this guy. Put him in a horrible position. Nothing he could have done about it. So then, naturally, I'm in this 30,000 square foot building by myself and my buddy who I just brought here, and nobody's there anymore. Right. And we're like, it was almost like if the place got raided or something, and the business was gone.
Wow.
And then this guy's, my uncle, his life has just got turned upside down. You don't want to, hey, what about the insurance thing that we're doing? Can I get my check? And his life is just literally, up in the air. So, he did tell me, he's like, you're going to be fine. Like, let me just figure this out, and we're going to figure it out together. It was just a lot for me my wife was like, I told you, you had that job, and that's it. But I'm like, nah, we're going to be fine.
Did you believe it?
I was less nervous because I knew I had other things I could do. The problem is I started to hang on to this when he was dealing with, when things like this happen, there's legalities. You'd have forensic auditors come into his business. I mean, his plate was, there was potential legal issues what this guy was doing. So the last thing on his mind is me and my insurance, and he's got kids and he's got a wife, so I understand that. He always put me enough at ease where I knew we would be okay, or at least he was going to try this with me still. But I was still nervous because he was definitely tied up with whatever else, and I'm just sitting there like in this room, a very small room in a big building, and it felt like it was collapsing. I'm like, do I even come to work? Like, right. So then I, honestly, the phones got shut off and the lights got shut off because he's not wanting to pay any more money for this.
So literally, not figuratively, like
no, we had no lights.
Wow.
And then we obviously left because you couldn't see. But that's what could happen. That was
so what happened? So explain. So that all happened between September and December, or what was that? Was that like a month, or was that like in 2 weeks? This all went down.
It was like he was in the hospital. We found out on Sunday, and then well, how are we going to pay people on Friday? Like, how much are I going to pay them? I believe, I don't know the facts, but I believe my uncle actually fronted a lot of money to make people's pay.
Wow.
So, he just got a raw deal, and I didn't want to impose because, I go home and she's like, did you talk to him? I'm like, how am I going to, I just want to be there for him, honestly. He's my uncle, and I love him, and he's dealing with some stuff. And she's like, I understand that, and she wanted to be there, and she would speak to his spouse and his spouse would reach out to me. Can you? This is everything he's built over his whole life, and he got blindsided. So I didn't want to ask him like, hey, where's my money? So I just was patient, and that was very scary. That's when it started to get scary because I knew I could do other things, but I didn't want to give up on this. So I just started using the credit cards and just trying to buy my time. Before I had to make a drastic leap back into essentially fail at this and go back somewhere else.
Right.
So how was your business at the time? I know that part of the business was bad, but you at the time apparently were booming. Were the phones still ringing? Were people still inquiring, or did everything come to a screeching halt when the mortgage thing went kind of slow?
Yeah, it pretty much went to a halt. We had our deals that were in the pipeline that we're working on and stuff, but then those loans weren't even getting really done anymore because the mortgage company was dealing they were merging and things, so they really didn't want to work with us because they've lost potentially money from the mortgage company I'm affiliated with. So that's why we rebranded, because I had nothing to do with that, and our name was affiliated because we were in that company. So I guess the long story short on that is we finally got our own office and a complex, and the partner that was in the hospital came back. He's like, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And we're like, hell no. No way.
Wow.
No way. And he's like, well, you're going to have to buy me out.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, you just ruined all of our lives. Like, now we're going to give you money?
Yeah.
We're furious at him.
Yeah.
And, but we had to buy him out because we couldn't.
Full circle, we still have
Yeah, I mean, we had to buy him out.
It's just a much more clean cut.
Right.
Yeah, we just didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And we just had no choice but to give him some money. It wasn't a lot because at that point we weren't really, it was thousands. I think it was 10, 15, 20 grand. I mean, but that was a lot of money for a company that has no money, that just lost everything. Who knows?
So what does 2013 look like?
So 2013 was, we rebranded to the Insurance Savings Network, and we bought our partner out. And it was me and my uncle, and my parents came in and got involved a little bit.
And at this time, you just had a son. Right?
Yeah, he was born in October.
Okay, wow.
So
so how did you not pull your hair out during that time? That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was definitely stressed out. And I had money saved, but it was nowhere near what I needed. I mean, it definitely went, and then I went into debt because of this. But it's made me so much money.
Yeah.
It's made me so much money. It's made me such a better person. I work so hard now because it got taken away like that.
Yeah, that quick.
And it's like, people are like, how do you do this? And I don't know. I don't know when things are going to change. I don't know when Amazon's going to open insurance. I don't know what's going to happen. Sure. Yeah. So I have to grind and outwork other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 13, it was scary because we didn't know how we were going to get business. Yeah. So we're used to the referral setup. And when I brought up some other episodes that you guys had, with sales, that certain people like cold calling, it's their thing. Yeah. That is not my thing. Yeah. Car sales, they come to you. Yeah. Essentially. I can crush leads and referrals that come to me. So if you give me a referral, if I develop a network or something like this with the mortgage leads, I'll outsell everybody. Yeah. But I mean, that's because it's kind of easy. Yeah. You've set up that relationship where you're not having to call someone and hanging up. I don't, that's tough, man. That's tough sales. So my plan was to figure out a way where I didn't have to purchase leads because that costs money and we didn't have it. Yeah. And those also, when you buy leads, and in my business, they're shoppers. They're people that are out there in the marketplace looking to save money. And if you can save them money, then they're going to do the same thing next year. And my business is all, if anybody came to me and said, I'm staying for 6 months or a year, I wouldn't write them a policy. Right. Because I lose money first year, essentially, with all my rent and all my stuff. I need years and years of relationships, referrals. I need you to be a partner with me for a long period of time, and I'll make sure that I always review your policies and keep you. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at. I was figuring out, I knew what kind of salesperson I was. I knew that if I can get them in front of me, I would crush it. But I did not know how I was going to do that. The 100 mortgage people that worked for my uncle, they very well could hate him. Yeah. Because although I believe they knew he got blindsided, he was still an owner of the company that kind of screwed up their lives. Yeah. So I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure that he would reach out to these people, or would he even be willing to reach out to them, because he might be embarrassed of what happened. So he reached out to one person, said, hey, can my nephew bring up, because they all relocated to different places now. They all just didn't, all the mortgage guys, they were scattered amongst mortgage guys and girls. They were scattered amongst 15, 20 different companies. Yeah. So we started to reach out to them. Hey, can we bring pizza? Can you introduce us and stuff? And we started to go in that way. And he got me in the door with people I didn't know, and I sold them. Yeah. And I made that happen. Yeah. And kind of the rest was history. He got me the intros, which is really a testament to him, because if the other partner asked for those intros, like he ruined a lot of people's life. So the fact that they were willing to let my uncle and myself come up there with pizza and soda and talk to them was kind of like he must have had some kind of impact on their life, you know.
So explain a pitch to us, right? Mm-hmm. So do you feel the need when you're presenting these ideas, everyone's kind of relaxed, most people have a wall, right? Here comes another salesman, here comes another pitch, I'm just here for the pizza, I don't care what this guy's about to say, and now you're fighting a past all at the same time. Mm-hmm. What's the technique there?
I mean, you just blame it on the other guy and you tell him. I mean, they, a lot of times people are just there for the food. They're just there to so-and-so's bringing a meal. Yeah. And again, I wasn't really good at that moment at being at public speaking or anything either. So I used my uncle. He made all those kind of things. But our pitch to the mortgage industry was there is actual deals that don't get done because certain ratios are too high or low. I mean, high really. And if we can give them a really competitive insurance rate, that might get a few deals a year done for you that you wouldn't have got. And if you're making, mortgage people make a lot more per deal than I do. Yeah. If they're making $3, $4, or $5 grand a deal, I mean, I could make you 15 grand a year, 20 grand a year by my pricing being better than other people's pricing.
Got it.
And if you have an Allstate, or sometimes they win, but they have just one company. Yeah. And they don't do certain kinds of risks. We find a home for things. So that was kind of the pitch. So it started to go. The only thing we would give them is we'd bring them lunch every couple times a year, and we give them referral gift cards, like TD Bank gift cards as thank yous. In insurance, you have limits of what you can do legally to reward people. So sure. We had a referral program. It was pretty cool. They were interested in that. It wasn't a ton, but we never, knock on wood, a deal never didn't get done because of me or my company. Yeah. Any of these mortgage guys would never say you cost me a deal or any of that. Yeah. We always make deals happen for them, and we do it legally. We don't. People say, hey, can you do this, this, and this? And my other insurance people did that. Yeah. We don't do that here. Right. We don't. If you need to be at a certain ratio, if you give us the right opportunity, if you give us the auto home bundle, we usually can get in that range with not compromising coverage at all. We can actually give you more coverage and more protection for less money and not have to do any of that nonsense.
So explain the ratio. You mentioned a couple times. What for those of us who do not know specifically what that means? When you're saying ratio, what are they looking for?
Well, that's more of a mortgage thing, and I'm not licensed in that. But what I do know is if you between your income and your debt and your credit cards and everything, your taxes on the house you're buying and things, and they put in like a guesstimate for your insurance. Okay. And that's always good to be around that. When I give you a quote, say they figure $100 a month, let's say, it's not good when I come in at $200 a month because that messes up their mortgage payments and it messes up their ratio. Now, some people, they have no debt or very limited debt and they make good money, and no matter what I say, $500 a month, $50 a month, it's not going to mess up their house buying process.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But when someone's a little bit a paycheck to paycheck type situation, or first time home buyer that is bringing $8 grand to the table and getting a gift from their parents, like sure. I did. Yeah. You can't have $200 a month. Yeah, you got to have $100 a month, and you probably need $75, and sometimes lower. Yeah. Depending on how tight it is between how much you can afford to mortgage and stuff. So they'll come to me, say, Mark, I have this situation. We need to be here. Can you do whatever you need to do to get here? And usually, it's all I got to do is be given the right opportunity, and I'll get there. Yeah. And when they say do what you got to do to get there, I think they mean whatever it takes. Yeah. But I don't need to do anything. I just do my job, and the rates are what they are. Yeah. So.
Do you turn people down?
I do, and it's not because I don't want to write insurance policies. And in the beginning, when I was hurting the way I was, I wrote a lot more policies that I would never write now.
Sure.
And it's not. I essentially gave them what they wanted.
Yeah.
When I was in the beginning, if you wanted to take a lousier coverage because that's what you have now, and you're going to sign papers to the fact that I'm going to try to talk you out of it, but if you insist, I will do that. This was in 2013.
Yeah.
So now I write a certain type of policy, and there's nobody that's going to make me not do that. And I try to prevent people from getting in their own way sometimes with insurance, which kind of brings me to one of my one of the questions you had asked about, kind of what drives you crazy about the insurance industry, or what. It's people thinking that because they don't have money now, that they don't need to carry good coverage.
I understand.
So if you carry lousy coverage and just because you don't have a house or kids or anything, and you get sued for $100,000, then you're never getting a house.
Right.
You're never getting a house. It's because it's a lien. When you go to get a mortgage, they say, okay, Jimmy, everything's good, but you got to pay off $100,000 to Allstate because you got this lien burst. They sued you because you didn't have the right coverage.
Right.
So I try to explain that to people because you hear it. You can't get blood from a stone, right?
Sure.
Like I have no money. Now, I'm not asking you to pay $400 a month when you could definitely pay $100 a month.
Yeah.
But, spend an extra $20 a month and make sure that you protect future earnings.
Yeah.
And you don't let something you did at 22, 23 get in the way of what you're trying to do at 28. I did a lot of things at 22, 23 that I would never have done once I met my wife, because as soon as I met her, I knew, we were going to have that family I wanted, and I needed to protect myself differently.
Yeah.
And I was much more responsible. So because of that, and because of everything that I lost temporarily, I knew I had to do a service to people and protect them. So if they want something, I'm not going to put my brand on that. My logo is not going on junk.
Yeah, it's more of a quality thing.
And it's not individuals or anything. If I think someone's doing something wrong, I'll walk away for that. But most of the time, people say, okay, I'm happy you saved me $50 a month.
Yeah.
What about if I do this, this, and this? I said, why would you need to do that? I already saved you $600 a year.
Yeah.
You want to save another $5 a month and jeopardize everything?
Right.
So those are the people that I say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I feel comfortable doing. And usually, it's actually got me a lot more sales than it's lost me, because they say, I can't believe you're willing to turn away money because I'm willing to make a mistake.
Right.
And you care so much.
Right.
And you won't let me make this mistake and ruin my life, that I want to do business. And then those people are actually probably my best clients. They send me tons of referrals.
Yeah.
Because they remember that day where something happened that, had it not been for me standing firm on that, they probably wouldn't be in the position in life they're at now, because they'd be paying back all this money.
So I want to ask you a question about maintaining your clients, right? How does one compete with, and this happens in every industry, with a new customer, right? So it's always this thing. We all see it, those of us who have oil for our houses. Sure. X, Y, and Z company is going to offer me such and such per gallon because I'm a new client. Cable companies, you're a new client, so we're going to offer you $100 you're paying. We could see you're probably paying about $200, the same thing, and you're going to get $500 Visa card within the first 6 months. It's like this wild phone company, cell phone companies. You actually get this phone for free because you're a new customer. And my one uncle, I'll never forget, shout out to Uncle Ed. He calls his oil company. He's like, I had three basically teenagers with tablets knock on my door and tell me they can cut in half per gallon. Now, this is my question to you guys. Why do you guys treat your new customers like gold, and your current customers who I've been paying you for the last 20 years, I get no discounts, there's no advantage for me staying with you? And it was just very valid point. How do you maneuver through that?
It's difficult. So that also gets me back to the point of where I get my business, because the type of business that I get retains at a much larger or higher rate. So my retention, believe it or not, is more like 94%-ish, which is kind of unheard of. At Allstate, we were in the 80s, the low 80s.
Wow.
And when you talk about years and years of business, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue to your business. So
you're saying that percentage difference.
Yeah. So not only is my sale easier because I'm not really competing with other people. I mean, sometimes I would say about 75% of my referrals to me I'm the only competition.
Okay.
I really have to screw it up.
Yeah.
Or my team or something to not get the deals. They're buying new homes. They're first-time home buyers. My referral partners have teed them up perfectly.
Nice.
I just have to get the pricing where it needs to be, and I'll be good. So those types of buyers are more loyal, and they're not going to shop you as much. So that's good. I also have filters in place where I see rates go up. That happens, and some are because you had claims or something or tickets, but most of the time it's just because the insurance companies didn't make as much as they wanted to, and they want to make it back. So I have filters where I get all kinds of alerts and different things based on percentages of increases, and those, once you get to a certain point where we're at now, I cannot call every single client every year. I send mailings out and emails and stuff generically to call us if you'd like to review something. But I do have the filters in place where if it goes up over a certain percentage, that I have to requote them or redo it or reach out to them.
Sure.
I won't just redo it or requote them without speaking to them first, because a lot of times when I write someone with a company, they might had a great experience with that company, so they're okay with this 10% increase or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to requote it and do all this and waste time doing that. I want to have a conversation with these folks and see, hey, there may be options. Do you want me to take a look at it, or are you good with what the renewal is?
Yeah.
And, believe it or not, a lot of times they'll say whatever you think, or we really like them. We're very comfortable with their online portal, or we had a claim and they handled it like to the nines. So I'm not switching anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, sweet, that saved me from time. Because there's studies out there that show if just keep writing new business. Even if you retain less, you're going to write more.
Gotcha.
And that's not how I operate. Although that's, as far as business go, that I try to do both. What I try to do is write more, retain higher by working smarter and longer.
Got it.
And that's how I do it. But there is definitely a train of thought that says, don't talk to anybody. At Allstate, we didn't talk to anybody. Why would I call you and bring attention to a bad situation that I have no other carriers to write you with?
Right.
Jimmy, your rate just went up 20%. I just wanted to let you know, how's everything going? You say, well, I didn't realize that. I'm calling, State Farm or whoever else now.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do?
Yeah.
So what you do is you do nothing, and then you don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
So we definitely try to do it, and we do a really good job. My team, and I have to shout them out. I have a bunch of people over there, and some are newer, and I have quite a few that have been with me from all these ins and outs.
Wow.
So those people are super important to me. There's a lot that went on that we've flourished. I mean, we win awards. I mean, we're a part of networks and different organizations that were. Last year we won the growth award for 2018. So I mean,
wow, that's awesome.
We, from lights going off to this is quite a big difference. So
what's thus far? What's one of your favorite accomplishments? Was it just maintaining and still believing when literally everything was the dark days, or is it something almost like? That was your uncle who gave you a shot, making him proud. Mm-hmm. Is it just kind of the growth that you see year in and year out?
No, yeah, I mean that is one of the accomplishments. The accomplishments, a lot of these agencies they rely they don't hire as many people, and they rely on the companies to do a lot of their servicing. And I've always thought that. I get so many referrals from my clients.
Yeah.
Why would I want them to call a 1-800 number?
Yeah.
So I'd rather employ, people and have them, service the accounts for me. And we do some of that. We say, hey, if we're not here or it's after hours or Sunday or Saturday, sure. You could always call us and you can go there. That's fine. But we like to help these people. We like to always be a part of life. I think that's why I retain the way I do. And it does stink when someone just needs something that anybody can handle for them very quickly, like an insurance card or something, and they make me call them back, and then they say, I just need an insurance card, when I pay people to do that.
Right.
But I don't mind. I mean, it could be worse. I could have no lights and have nobody call me.
Sure. It's beneficial that the car industry typically is off on Sundays as well.
Yeah. I mean, that is huge.
That would be a disaster. I just thought about that. I remember calling my insurance agent who was on vacation, and he was a one-man band at the time, and I had to call the main line, and I remember him like chewing me out. I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do?
They wouldn't let me take the car. I've had people like buy other policies on a Saturday at a dealership because someone wasn't there, and then they just canceled it, you know, or they tried to cancel with me, and then I was able to save it and stuff. That's another issue in the industry, is someone misrepresenting themselves to get a deal and take it. I said, I don't get angry too much, but when people want to take food off my kid's plate,
for sure,
and if they do it fair and square, that's fine,
sure.
But if you give someone a military discount that's not in the military,
right,
to save them money,
right,
I'm coming for you.
For sure.
And I don't like that. I said, I worked so many nights, 9:30, 10 o'clock, I didn't get a chance to put my kids to sleep. I'm not gonna work like hell to retain this business. I missed bedtimes, I missed games, I missed all these kind of things. So you think you're gonna essentially commit insurance fraud to take my money away? It's not going to happen. And then I bring it up to people. Normally when you say he's beating me because he's committing insurance fraud and here are the 10 reasons, usually they say, oh my God, I would never work with that. But a couple people, which really makes me upset, is like, oh, but it's still cheaper. And I'm like, listen.
Well, there's always those guys.
Those people, I tell my staff, because they're like, I can't believe they're beating me. I said, listen, if they're going to do something illegal, we're never going to win. If you live in Bucks County, if you live in Philly and you garage your car in Bristol, it's good. How am I going to win? I'm going to garage it where it's at. And if you're going to garage it in Bristol, then the person that's willing to do that is going to win. And you got to take those lumps as hard as they are to take, because that's the number one thing. I always want to win. I always want to end on top, but the right way.
How do you transpire that mentality to the team, especially a new person?
I mean, I don't always do that as well as I like. I mean, I'm a firm lead by example guy. I do my routine. You could wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask me something about something, and it's just my process. It's just on point all the time. And if that's the way our business is running it, they're all going to just do that too. Like they won't. Some of those people are not as in the same financial positions as they'd like to be, and they could probably write not as good coverage to make some money for themselves because of the positions that they're in, and they're growing in the industry. But they don't, because they know that's not how I do it, and that's not how. And I would catch it anyway, but that's not how I operate. So I guess I lead by example. I work hard, and I kind of outlast it. Like you mentioned, the competition on the way here to home. Thousands of people that do what I do. It's the most. I mean, there's places all up and down the strips. There's 4 or 5 in my complex. So you have to differentiate yourself. You have to outwork these people. I have to. If they make enough money, then they can go golfing, and they don't answer their phone, then I win. And when I'm ready to go golfing, then I'll hire someone to answer the phone, or I'll answer the phone on a golf course. So you got to outwork them, and you got to be different. And the way you're different to me is like the agent that came to my house when my sister passed away. You know, that was different to me. He was involved and he cared. I've unfortunately had to go through similar situations as an insurance agent. Where I had a young kid pass away due to drunk driving, and it was one of my referral partner's sons. And that was reliving it all over again. That was 2 years ago, I think now. And I remembered how my father was treated. I went to the funeral. I cried with the guy. I told him, he knew about my situation, I believe, and we've become really close because of it. And it's just a horrible tragedy. But there's so many people that do what I do. Even they could write for the same company as I write for. And they say, well, I heard a bad review on X company. But that's a bad review on the agent. If I don't give you X and X happens, then you think the company stinks. If I'm on the golf course and I have no one watching my phone, and you think the company has bad customer service, the companies rely on us to represent them properly and make sure that if something goes wrong, we've given them the proper coverage and the proper assistance to make them look good instead of making them look bad. They all got billions of dollars. If you give them the right coverage, they got to pay it. Unless there's something else going on that shouldn't be going on.
What does your business look like in the next 5 years, or where would you like for it to be?
The number one thing I'm working on is scaling my business because, you know, as we sit here in Miguel's shop, I mean, the more barbers you have, the more heads that can be cut, and the more money that can be made for everybody. And right now, as much as I have a great support team, and I've created great referral networks, that now I feel confident enough trickling down to some of our sales guys, and they're taking them and running with them, which is awesome. For a really long time, because I lost everything for a brief moment, I didn't want anyone handling any of my referral partners, because and they didn't want anyone handle them but me. And to this day, some of them are like, nobody handles them but you. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fine if that's what you want. Yeah. But so I did everything from changing the air filter to taking out the trash, to doing everything. So it's as good as our businesses come. If God forbid something happened to me or anything else, I did do 80% of the production or more for a long time. So I want to scale it where I still work as hard as I do, but I make more careers for other people, and I give them opportunities, and I trust them, and we have many more employees, many more offices. We've been asked to do so many things. My trust level because of what happened is I'm trying to get over that. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of opportunities and to scale it because our product is so great, and our process in the office is so great. The girl that I mentioned that works for me, I mean, she's like the office mom, the office wife. She's a therapist. She's works amongst all men, and she keeps it together, and she holds it down. So with our process, the way we have it, what she handles and what my sales team handle and what I handle, it all works. But if we can, you know, kind of get more salespeople. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many people that want to work from home and be subcontractors and all this, and we've tried it. It's just I can't trust people working from home, and they don't have the same. I got to have like guidelines for how we're doing it. And we're working on things, and we have a lot of things going on. Right now, it's just, just work more hours and work more efficiently, because that's a problem I've had. I've always said, I have more hours because I'll stay here till whenever. Sure. But I don't have to if I work smarter. Right. And that's kind of where we're at now.
So where is your uncle in all this at this point? Does he have a huge say in everything, or he's kind of just, he knows that you got this and ran with it, and he's kind of just laying low?
So he got into a lot of different businesses. So he's used to making a lot of money. Insurance, you don't make a lot of money for a long time. I mean, you do make it for a long time because it's residualized if you keep the business, but you have to build it up. So for someone that's used to making that kind of money, he couldn't wait for me. He wasn't going to knock me down. He would do whatever he could to help me, but he needed to make money. So he got involved in a lot of other investments, and I ran with this. So he's still doing that stuff, and he's doing much bigger scale stuff, and it's really cool stuff, and I'm happy for him. He's essentially silent with me. I mean, we talk about things, hiring, firing, which we really don't have to fire many people, but just this major things we talk about. And a lot of stuff we just talk about life and business and how to grow bigger and be more efficient and stuff. But he's not like in the office almost ever. A couple times a year we'll have lunch or hang out, but we'll just talk as we would, and he knows what's going on, but this is my thing.
So you mentioned that he's just, in general, is your mentor, someone you always looked up to. Looking beyond 5 years, is the kind of the entrepreneurship, the level that he's at, is that something you also look, to tap into later on, or is it just you want to just stay with the insurance industry currently? Obviously, as you keep mentioning, you never know what's going to happen, right? But is it something that you would like to tap into, or you just kind of staying put to grind it out here and see where it takes you? Because he's investing, I'm sure, in real estate and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like to invest in any kind of residual type business. I mean, whether it's landscaping, where you could keep a client if you do a nice lawn, and you're fairly priced, you're going to continue to get that business. Sure. Barbers, you do a good job, you have to have clients for life. You have your book there, right? Sure. And those are types of businesses I like to be involved in. Yeah. Because those businesses, if you do the right thing, you'll be rewarded for those no matter what. Yeah. And as risky as they may be in the beginning, and you might take a while to build your book of business, once you have your book of business, you can get pretty much like clockwork, and you can grow and scale. Those are things that I like to do. Real estate invest in is something I want to do. And there's other things within the insurance industry that go hand in hand, whether it be life insurance or some different financial products that I'd like to get into that can bring in another revenue stream.
Just to expand more, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I did that once and I got burned royally. So even now, the fact that 20 of those mortgage people are at 20 different places that now work with 100 people each, I scaled by that happening. I now have thousands of people. You know, if one of those realtors is in Hatboro, I could go up there and bring pizza, and there's 100 other people I've never met before.
Wow.
So, I mean, I never thought that this was going to be a good thing that this happened. Right. But you got all the people that I was currently working with that transplanted other places, and now they're willing to talk to me because I do the right thing.
Right.
You know, and I did the right thing by them, and I get deals done for them, and I provide good service.
Do you interact with any other business owners in the insurance industry, or is that kind of something where we talk about competition? It's kind of, you kind of stay in your lane, you do your thing, they do their thing. Is there conferences? How do you stay up to date with the current trends? Do you read books, or is there websites you guys go to? And is there something with your license, or that you have to maintain yearly?
Yeah, you have to. I think it's every 3 or 4 years you have to do continuing education, and you got to do your 24-hour CE credits. It's usually one of those things you wait till the last minute and you
absolutely
and you cram.
Every industry has.
You're gonna lose. And I mean, that's just because you're busy. It's not because you don't want to learn. But I'm a part of a bunch of organizations within the insurance, and they have conferences, seminars, webinars. I'm more of a webinar guy or a conference call or I don't like to read as much, but I'm more interactive, so I go to different networking groups. I'm a president of one now, and that's not necessarily insurance related, but those kind of people keep me up to date on some things. And in the insurance industry, I subscribe to a lot of different things. If you don't, keep up on your game, you're going to get run over, because there's different products that come out. There's different things you have to do your due diligence. All these different carriers, they have different things and webinars we sit in and go to, and you have to do that, because if you miss something, they'll sue you. I mean, you gotta know what you're doing, and that's why it's hard for me to scale and expand, because if you make a mistake, that you're gonna pay for it, and it could ruin someone's life. So you always have to be doing that. So the state requires something, but that's nothing. I mean, you got to do more. You got to learn more, and you're always growing.
Speaking of networking and relationship building, how has that helped with just even keeping your clients? We talked about maintaining them, but when you talk about networking and expanding your network, and because of what happened back in 2012, that you didn't realize that was actually going to create more business for you. Yeah. How does that all work?
Yeah, I mean, my network is great because, a lot of people have said this on your pods before, is when you have a network of people that you trust to like, if someone needed a mortgage or a roof. I mean, my network runs so deep. Yeah. I've been able to, because of the network that we're in, I've been able to refer someone, a cousin or a friend that lives in Florida. I mean, they have the same network there. So if someone needs what I do in another state, I just go onto the portal there, and I rely on there's a code of ethics in that. So I prefer to give them the people I know and I interact with daily. But if I had to, it's better than them just Googling somebody or not knowing and just walking in somewhere. So we always do that, and they try to come back our way and stuff. It's just everything I've ever done is referral based, and I've built this network so that I didn't have to cold call, and I didn't have to do those kind of things. So I do like it sometimes too, because it's much more competitive. Yeah. But it's definitely harder. It's definitely more time consuming.
What just to transition a little bit, how do you manage your work-life balance, right? So you can basically put in, especially as a business owner, unlimited hours, and have a valid reason for doing so. How do you know when to not call it quits, but you're like, all right, I'll handle the rest of this tomorrow or whatever, without completely damaging, relationships at your own house? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult. In the beginning, it was the most difficult. So, because, I got to say, I mean, fortunately, even in the beginning, once things got off the ground, my wife never went back to work after my son was born. And that was one of my goals. And it looked like it was definitely going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I fought, and I made that happen. But we thought we toyed around with the idea and things, but there was something about having the peace of mind that my kids were good. She said, Mark, they're good. They're not in, childcare at the moment. And I was very concerned about that because I know my youngest son was always, I have a 12-year-old too, and he was in childcare and stuff. And I always wanted her to be able to stay home with them and stuff. And that was like one of my goals when I did this, is why I kind of did this.
Yeah.
And I don't want her ever to go back to work. And I'm hoping she won't unless she wants to.
Yeah.
And it just gave me peace of mind that I knew that they were being watched, they were being taken care of, and I could go do my thing with a clear head.
That's
so
awesome.
for 5 years or so, I did that.
Yeah.
I worked from 7 to 9, and we thank God for FaceTime and everything else.
Yeah, sure.
And now I'm most happy about, and I didn't know this was the why. I knew the family was always the why. That was always my driving factor. But I've been coaching a lot, and I've been coaching my 12-year-old kid and his basketball and team, and we went undefeated this year, and it was super rewarding.
Nice.
And we had practices, and I would never do that. I would be like, I can't do that because there's not enough time. I made time for it, and now I'm doing the baseball thing, and I was speaking with the guys before, and it's so awesome.
Yeah.
And be honest with you, I've gotten business from it.
Yeah.
Because I'm out there, I'm involved in meeting other people, and they know that I'm doing it the right way, so they trust me, and it's just so much more rewarding. I want to work hard so that I can do more of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's really motivating me now, is to kind of develop young people, and also want to develop some of the players that are a little bit older, the 12, 13. I did 12 to 14, and some of those people I said, if they want to intern at the business and things, because I'm trying to really mentor whoever I can, because it's not easy. So.
Yeah. So how does one stay organized? This is always something I bring up practically every episode, but it's been very heavy on my mind because it's something that I've been toggling with and managing very closely as of lately. You can get busy with stuff, and you have to say no to certain things. Whether it's a birthday parties with family or business ventures that people want to try to partner up with you with because they see that you're successful in this, and so they think that also transpires into opening up a Chuck E. Cheese. You know what I mean? How do you basically stay focused without getting too crazy, but extending yourself enough to show that love?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to prioritize certain things. I have a hard time. Organization definitely is not my thing.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up my wife, but I mean, she's like making doctor's appointments for me. She stays home, which is what I love. We tried her to go back, and my life was a disaster. So, I had to, once you start picking up kids and you start doing all this stuff, and you don't work 6 hours.
Yeah.
You start looking at what she's making and what I'm making in those 6 hours, and we're like, she's mad because she's working and not seeing the kids, and I'm like, well, this sucks. I'm out of the office half the day. I'm picking up everything. I'm doing it. She's there's such an appreciation for that. It's way more important than what I do. I just keep my head down and work hard.
Yeah.
She deals with all the real life stuff, so she handles that stuff. And at the office, I mentioned the other woman who's kept me in line all these years. So. My desk is all over the place, and now I've been told that some of the most successful people have these desks like mine. And that's what I keep telling myself to justify it. But I know where everything is. I do. I'm not even lying. Like I'm not forgetting anything. I have a to-do list. I have a calendar on my phone. I have multiple calendars. I'm more on top of it. But if you saw my office, you'd be like, this guy's busy and unorganized. But I know that how valuable my wife is to my career, how much She brings financially to our family by keeping me in line, and the girl at the office, she does the same at the office. My other staff, they do it too. They know when I'm overwhelmed, which could happen, especially in this busy market with interest rates dropping, everyone buying houses. It gets crazy, and they all keep me as organized as I can. But I'm a relatively organized person. It just looks in the office, it looks a little bit crazy,
a little chaotic.
Yeah,
that's good. All right, and so just in closing, what do you recommend to someone who wants to get into the insurance, business, or wants to start their own gig, who's younger? So when you started, you're in your 20s or whatever it was, someone who already knows this is kind of, in alignment with them.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever anybody, I mean, that's where I feel you have to be. So when I have people come to me with great resumes, and they've got they're like me right now, like a couple kids, own a home, cars, stuff like that, and mortgages. And I'm like, I can't, you're totally qualified. You could kill it here.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to pay all this stuff.
Yeah.
You have too many responsibilities.
Sure.
And if you're willing to invest in yourself, if you got money in the bank and you want to invest in yourself, I'll make you a ton of money.
Yeah.
And come work for me. But usually no, I can't trade in one of my cars or tell my wife she has to go back to work or whatever it may be.
Right.
So that those people usually aren't for me. And those people, I think, need to get maybe jobs at a more corporate level of insurance. I love the young people living at home, and I can mentor them and build them up, and they can maybe open their own agency like myself. I mean, ideally, I have a guy working for me now. He works part-time on the weekends. He whether it's a bartender or labor or caddy or whatever it may be at the golf course. So you have to supplement your income in the beginning, because it's not the type of job that you're just going to become a millionaire overnight.
Sure.
I mean, it can get pretty crazy as far as you could struggle for X amount of time, and then those years build up and your book builds up, and now you almost don't even have to sell anymore. It's so big.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at now, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And my uncle, who's very silent, would not be so silent if I stopped selling. So we just got to keep going.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, just work somewhere first, like I did. Like, don't just open your own thing, and unless you have years and years of what you need saved away. I mean, it's definitely something you want to slow roll.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So how can people get in contact with you, your company, reach out to you? Do you have a website, emails? Who do they contact?
Yeah. It's mark@insurancesavingsnetwork.com is my email. Website is insurancesavingsnetwork.com. You can reach us out. We're all over, Facebook, the internet. Reach out to us if you have any questions. You can email me, call us. The office line is 267-364-6350. If you have any questions about anything, I mean, just know it's always good to have a second set of eyes reviewing your stuff so that you don't run into any of those problems I came across today. So
Awesome. All right, so there you have it, folks. We like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Steve Jobs. If you are working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. And the second one by Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. There you have it. Insured. In this episode, we have special guest Mark Arnold. We cover topics that range from insurance business, networking, relationship building, marketing, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Steve Jobs and Walt Disney. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram @RotatedViews. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.